What an action-packed episode. We got a whole lot to break down, so let's get started. We begin with the interrogation of one of the assassins who tried to kill Boba Fett in the first episode. We learn that the assassin comes from the Order of the Nightwind. This order is an entirely new faction that we have never heard before in Star Wars, and while Fennec calls them overpriced, the tortured droid states that there is no way he will talk. With that, Fennec promptly sends him into the Rancor pit using Jabba's secret trap that he also used on Luke Skywalker in The Return of the Jedi. We also see Boba's platform slide forward much like Jabba's did as he watched Luke face off against the Rancor. As the assassin falls into the pit, the door to the Rancor begins to open, and we see absolute terror in his eyes. The assassin confesses that it was the mayor that sent them, basically spilling the beans. But it is then later revealed that there was no Rancor. This is most likely due to the fact that the Rancor was already killed by Luke a few years earlier. As Boba and Fennec travel to Mos Espa, where they are greeted by a disinterested clerk.
Boba Fett.
As the Major Domo steps in, we are once again reminded of the fact that Boba arrived on foot instead of a litter.
However, I did not see your litter arrive.
Say again! Say again! I dare you! I double dare you, motherfucker! Say one more goddamn time!
Nevertheless,
And this seems like a sore point that others around Boba seem to be keen on bringing up over and over again. And this comes into sharp contrast later as we see this interesting duality between the Hutts and Boba himself. As Boba meets the mayor, who is voiced by Robert Rodriguez himself, the mayor of course denies all allegations, instead citing that the Nightwind Order has no right to operate outside of Hutt space, alluding to the bigger adversary that Boba must face later on. Hutt space is pretty hard to define as depending on the era it changes, but it essentially refers to all of the territories that the Hutt clan controls, primarily located in the Outer Rim and centered around Nal Hutta, the capital of the Hutt clan. While the mayor continues to deny all allegations, he nonetheless offers Boba Fett the bounty on the Nightwind assassin, clearly meant as a jab and to demean Boba of his current position, denying his status as daimyo and instead referring to his previous occupation as a bounty hunter. Instead, the mayor redirects Boba to meet Madame Garza as it would clarify the situation. As we head back to the sanctuary, we see a lot of familiar faces from episode 1 as well as some new ones. First, we see a bat-looking alien. This little guy here belongs to the species of the Chandra Fan, who made their first appearance in A New Hope, also in a cantina scene. It is then revealed that the twins have laid claim on Tatooine, but Boba Fett mentions that they are busy on Hutta, alluding to the capital of the Hutt clan.
The twins are preoccupied with the debauchery of Hutta.
Hutta or Nal Hutta is located in the Outer Rim and the homeworld of the Hutt species. It's a pretty swampy planet and is generally considered by the Republic to be a crime haven. We then hear the sounds of the drums as the Hutts arrive at the scene, and the difference between Boba Fett's arrival and that of the Hutts is striking. Where Boba Fett arrives and everyone pays very little attention, in this case the Hutts are very different. Everyone goes silent, and why? Well, the drums certainly help that effect, but let's be honest here, it's probably because of the litter, which is really about to break under the weight of the two Hutts combined. Clearly, someone needs to eat a salad. We also see one of the Hutts using a rodent of some sort to wipe the sweat off his brow, which goes in line with what Hutts do, which is abusing little things. And in the background we can even see their many servants struggling to hold them up. Just then, the Hutts sent out a very interesting looking Wookiee, and one that fans of the comics Dr. Aphra will be very familiar with. The Wookiee that we see here is named the Black Chrysanthemum and made his first appearance in Star Wars in issue 1 of the 2015 Vader comics. This charming Wookiee is also a bounty hunter and incredibly ruthless, able to go toe-to-toe with the likes of Chewbacca. He was frequently hired by Jabba the Hutt and even once hired by Vader, and the paths of Boba and this Wookiee have crossed before, when Jabba offered these two to help Vader in his quest to hunt down Luke Skywalker and an agent of the Emperor. And according to Fett himself, this Wookiee is one of Jabba's best bounty hunters, and Boba responds with this.
You can bring as many gladiators as you wish.
Which actually alludes to the backstory of this Wookiee who did initially fight as a gladiator in the pit fights for the Santi brothers. Boba then goes on to say,
These These are not the death pits of Dur, and I am not a sleeping Trandoshan guard.
The death pits mentioned, of course, are where the Wookiee used to fight in, and a sleeping Trandoshan guard actually refers to how the Wookiee broke free from slavery and killed Trandoshan slavers. And it wasn't just one Trandoshan like Boba has mentioned, but instead 3. So definitely expect an upcoming showdown between the two. As the two sides end their standoff, Fennec mentions that in order to kill a Hutt, you need to get permission, and this alludes to the Council of the Hutts that oversee the entire Hutt clan. It's only with their express permission that a Hutt may be killed without declaring war on the entire clan. As Boba heads into another Bacta bath, we get flashbacks to his time with the Tuskens, and we see him here training with a gaffy stick when a strange creature pops out from beneath the sand. This is most likely a Galump, which are native to the planets Tatooine and strangely Naboo. They often bury themselves during sandstorms and often travel in packs, so it's strange to find this one wandering on their own. Then trouble approaches when a train runs through the desert shooting at the tribe, and as we will get a closer look later, the train that we see is actually carrying members of the Pike Syndicate. More on that later. Boba goes and kills a bunch of Nikto raiders to steal their speeders. It's not certain as to who these guys are working for, and the Hutts are certainly a possibility, but the insignia that they wear on their jackets isn't that of the Hutt clan, so it's anyone's guess. We then get a training montage of the Tuskens learning how to ride speeders.
Like a panther. Yes.
As Boba and the Tuskens raid the train, they get into a bit of a tough spot and are almost immediately rescued by the badass Tusken that trained Boba Fett. As Boba attempts to stop the train, you will notice that the engine room has a bit of a bright blue glow. And this is most likely coaxium, a sort of fuel that is used in the Star Wars galaxy. Now coaxium is highly potent stuff and pretty unstable as we have seen in Solo. But not only that, the coaxium that Solo steals from the spice mines of Kessels actually belong to the very same faction that owns this train, the Pike Syndicate. So that is a really cool connection in this episode. As they manage to stop the train, Boba sits on a bunch of looted crates and demands to talk to the leader, a sort of precursor to his decision to become a crime boss. And when Boba starts to question about spice, especially spice from Kessel, again a callback to Solo, the leader feigns ignorance. That is, until two Tuskens drop a crate full of it. And if you look closely, you can sort of see a sparkly glow in the air, a very unique characteristic of spice. As Boba negotiates with the Pikes, he tells them to return back to the Syndicate on foot. He tells them to walk in a single file, a Tusken habit to hide their numbers.
Sand people always ride single file to hide their numbers.
Demonstrating that he in some ways has adopted their habits. As Boba is rewarded for his efforts, a lizard crawls up his nose and he goes on this delirious high. We see the sands turn into water, reflecting his childhood on the watery world of Kamino, and later a dead tree. We also get to see a young Boba Fett played by Daniel Logan, the very same actor who played a young Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones. It seems like he really didn't age a single day at all. It really is some of that Disney magic. As the tree attempts to swallow him, mirroring that of the Sarlacc, Boba manages to break free, taking a piece of wood with him. We also see in the background many glowing eyes staring back at him, and these are the eyes of the Jawas, and we know this because of an artwork in the credits scene depicting Jawas looking down at him. Boba brings back the stick, completing his rite of passage and essentially becomes a member of the tribe. He then fashions his own gaffy stick that we see in The Mandalorian, and finally the episode ends with a ritualistic dance. Episode 2 was fantastic, and we got introduced to so many different factions on Tatooine, all vying for power, which actually goes in line with the title of the episode, The Tribes of Tatooine. So one thing's for sure, we can definitely expect all these factions to cross paths sometime in the future, especially in a big climactic battle. That's all for today's episode. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below, and I will see you in the next one.